The NCAA slapping a $60 million fine on Penn State and stripping the school of its football wins from 1998 to 2011. This is all in response to the sex abuse scandal involving former assistant coach Jerry Sandusky. Rachel Bachman is right here beside me. She is on our sports desk and has been following this case through all of its twists and turns. Sad day for Penn State. Some pretty stiff penalties. Some might say not stiff enough, but before we get to that, let's you walk us through exactly what has been levied on Penn State from the NCAA.
Yes, well, as you said, they've had a 4-year postseason ban leveled, which is extremely unusual. $60 million fine, which is unprecedented. They'll be on probation for 5 years. They have to vacate, which means to give up, essentially erase all the victories from 1998, which was the first known occurrence of the administration knowing that there might be something amiss with Jerry Sandusky.
That 1998 date.
Correct. Through 2011. So that's a lot. And what that does most significantly is knock Joe Paterno, who had been #1 among major college football coaches in victories, down to out of the top 10 anyway.
Okay. They did stop short of a full suspension of the school's football program. We'll hear about that in just a moment, but we're going to hear from the NCAA leaders right now as they spoke this morning about the penalties. We don't have it, but we may get that in a minute. So let's continue with you, Rachel. So some had said they thought that there should be a full suspension of the program. Why do you think that did not happen?
You know, it's difficult to say. It's called the so-called death penalty. The last time it's been levied was in the late 80s. And so there was some speculation about that. Some people are saying, however, including a couple of experts I spoke with, that this is actually worse than that because the death penalty is not really forever. It's for 1 or 2 years when the program is ceased, and then it can resume again. In this case, you know, with the 4-season postseason ban, what it means is essentially Penn State cannot contend for anything meaningful
in the bowl, for the
bowls, for the championship, and the Big Ten Conference, of which they're a member, came out today and said they also won't be eligible for the Big Ten championship game.
What about the bowl revenues? Because don't the schools all share in the bowl revenues? Does this mean Penn State gets none of the revenues as well?
That's correct. In fact, the Big Ten was the one who levied that fine. They said that Penn State will not keep any of its bowl revenues, in part because it's not eligible for bowls.
Okay, I think we're going to hear from the NCAA President Mike Emmert right now.
In the Penn State case, the results were perverse and unconscionable. No price the NCAA can levy will repair the grievous damage inflicted by Jerry Sandusky on his victims. However, we can make clear that the culture, actions, and inactions that allowed them to be victimized will not be tolerated in collegiate athletics.
All right, Penn State saying today they accept the penalties and these corrective actions of the NCAA. They really don't have much choice but to accept them, I assume. The statue of Joe Paterno coming down at Penn State over the weekend. Surely there are people, there are alumni who think this is all too stiff of a penalty. What are you hearing on that end?
Yes, there are some people who disagree. There are some prominent former players who've come forward and said that they feel that the Free report, the former FBI director Louis Free, who was commissioned by the Penn State Board of Directors to essentially research what happened and how the school handled or didn't handle this case. Some people feel that report overstepped its bounds, was unfair, and that is the primary source that the NCAA used to level these penalties.
Now, in terms of the reaction from the Penn State athletic director, what have we heard specifically there?
I haven't spoken with him specifically, but I know that this is an absolutely devastating blow, and it's difficult to say when Penn State might recover, but we're talking about one of the winningest, most storied programs in the history of the sport.
And we're looking at their official statement right there saying they accept these penalties and these corrective actions, and with today's announcement, obviously the university trying to take a significant step forward. Just really quickly, they have no choice, just to make clear, but to accept this. The NCAA wielding an enormous amount of authority over these programs. There could be more penalties to come. Is that correct, Rachel?
That is correct, especially on the individuals involved. The NCAA President Mark Emmert mentioned in a news conference this morning that the individuals involved in this case also could suffer penalties. In the past, the NCAA has done things like punished coaches who maybe left a previous program where they committed violations by saying, for instance, you can't coach at other NCAA institutions.